Hi, how are you guys doing? Well, guess what? We're moving into elapsed time. But first I have to make sure that you know how to read time. So there's a clock behind me, and that is the clock that we used to have in the classroom. Do you remember it? Yeah. So wherever that number is on the clock, that's the answer to the equation. So if it's pointing to where the 6 would be, the answer to that equation is 6. I don't know if you guys ever figured that out, but hopefully you did. So what we're going to do is I'm going to tell you different ways that you can write about how to tell time and how to count elapsed time. What is elapsed time, you ask? Elapsed time would be how much time passes by and when you have to solve it, or if you have to figure out what time to show up to something. And it's a very important skill that you know elapsed time, because if you ever travel, there's just so many things where you're going to be using elapsed time. So if you would be patient with me as I get ready to pull up what we're going to do first. And I think it is, aha, it's this one. Okay, so if you have a clock like this, you want to show the time, you guys know how to draw the hour hands and the minute hands on it, right? Yes, you do. So when you're doing elapsed time, you have to count around the clock how much time has passed for the question. So one of the first questions is, the start time is 1:30 and the end time is, looks like it's 1:55. Okay, so if it's 1:30 to 1:55, I'm going to go around that clock. Okay, and so it started at, and I'm just going to draw my hands real quick like you're going to do on your journal page. Okay, so it started there at 1:30. Okay, and then it went to 1:55, so I'm going to go 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. So from the time that's on page 591, the elapsed time is 25 minutes. So that's what you would write down. So you count, and this is like a circle type of timeline that you're counting on. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 minutes has passed by. So that is one way you can use a clock to count elapsed time. The only thing is when you go by hours, you have to make sure you're keeping track of each whole hour that passes by. That's just my tip. Another thing that you have to know is you have to know the different ways to write time. So right here I wrote different ways to write time. So you can say 15 minutes before 2 o'clock, or you could say a quarter to 2 o'clock, 15 minutes after. So these are different ways. You can write it as analog. You can write it this way. You can spell it out. You can say it's 2:45. So those are some of the, 1:45, you would spell it out. So these are the different ways that you can write time. And then we'll go over these in your journal page. The next one is, how can you count elapsed time again? And these will come as you move on further into your journal pages. And this is after you've shown that you can tell time, you can write time. And this is Jenna's tasks. And that starts on page, right here, 600. Oh my God, I can't believe we're on page 600. So this is a timeline that I made. It has the same little timeline on page 600 at the bottom. Okay, mine's not as good looking, but that's good enough. So she spent time doing these 3 tasks. So they're showing it on a number line, and this is how you would do it. So you would make hash marks every 15 minutes with the time, and then between those 15 minutes there is little smaller hash marks for each minute, and then every 5, so you can tell that that's 5, 10. So the first thing she did was 10, the next one was 15, so you can see that there's 5, 10, 15, so that means that we're at 35. Okay, so then 22 minutes was her last one, so we got 35, right? 25, I'm sorry, 30, 35, 40, 45, and then 2 more minutes. So it took her, what is that? 47 minutes, is that what you said? Is that what I heard? Okay, I think you're right. So this is one way you can count. If you're using a clock, you're gonna do the same thing that we did before, where you're counting around the clock, and you gotta think of it as a number line. Okay, so she started her chores, it looked like it was at 3:30, so the hour hand's going to point to the 3, but I'm just going to move on just so you don't have to wait for me to write that. But you would go, okay, so 5, 10 is the first one, 20, 30, so we got 25, and then you're going to add 22 minutes to that, and then you'll have 30, 35, 40, 45, 41, 42, or two more, 46, 47. So you'd have a total of 47 minutes going around the clock. So those were two different ways that you could count with your clock. So you can use the circular clock to count minutes for elapsed time, or you can use a number line to count elapsed time. All three of these are we call these different algorithms, just like we do in Rubik's Cube. So when you guys are counting, be sure you're looking at the number line, you're counting the minutes, that every small little dash is a minute, the medium dashes are 5, and then the larger dash is 15 minutes. So whenever you're making your number line charts, it's always every 15 minutes. So just remember that when you're doing that and you're counting and you need to show your work, so that when you take the assessment, you understand it and you'll get it all correct, and I won't have to worry about you. But anyway, so what's brown and sticky? You're right. What's brown and sticky is a stick, okay? Because they are brown and sticky. And if you have any questions, the lessons are on iReady for you to watch on the lessons that go with these journal pages. And also you have this one that I did for you today. So, hey, happy day. Talk to you guys later. Bye.